everyone, and welcome back to my channel where I like to talk about mostly books, but I also like to do vlogs. I know it has been a long time since my last video. I think it's been about 4 months since my last upload, but it is a new year, new energy, fresh start, and I'm ready to come back to YouTube. So for the first video of 2024, of course, I wanted to recap my 2023 reading year, and I have to start off by saying that it was a very uneventful reading year. I did not reach my reading goal for the first time in I think 2 or 3 years. My goal was 70 books and I only read 65, and really probably the last 2 months of 2023, I read almost nothing at all. I found it hard to get into reading. I started a couple of books. Some of them I didn't even mark on my Goodreads. Some of them are still sitting there as currently read because I just can't get into a book. I haven't found the book to pull me out of this reading slump that I am apparently in. I didn't find a 5-star read, you know, that all-time favorite book that just wow, blew me away. I didn't have that in 2023. But let me tell you about some of my reading habits for 2023. And full disclosure, I did read a lot of these books quite a long time ago and my memory is terrible. So although I can tell you what I feel about a book, the specifics about the plot and characters may be a little fuzzy. So just bear with me. So even though I did not have a favorite book of 2023, I did have a worst book of 2023, and that is The Deep by Nick Cutter. And I would like to say that this is not a badly written book. It just was not what I was expecting. In The Deep by Nick Cutter, it was supposed to be a horror story with a scientific base in the depths of the Mariana Trench. Now, the Mariana Trench, I think, is the deepest point of the ocean, or at least the deepest documented point so far. And I am afraid of open water. I am afraid of underwater. So I thought this book was just going to give me the ultimate creeps. It was going to give me nightmares, and I was looking forward to that. My husband thought that I could not get through this book, and I almost didn't, but for all the wrong reasons. I expected a true, like, physical horror type of underwater book. I mean, we're in the deepest point of the ocean. I feel like there was so much that could have been done with that, but there was just this very odd sci-fi kind of paranormal aspect that was really the sole focus of the story. And while there was a lot of body horror, I will give you that, there was a lot of gore and like mutilation with the body, that doesn't really scare me. Like, I need situations, I need things like happening in the story, and that book was not this. I was just very disappointed that when I was expecting an underwater horror, I thought it was going to be with like what was going on outside in the Mariana Trench. It wasn't what I was expecting. So again, this was not a badly written book, no favorite book of 2023, but I did discover a new favorite author, which is always a big plus because it makes picking out books that easy. Author puts something out, I check out, I read, I love, we move on. And for 2023, that was Loreth Ann White. She writes thrillers, mysteries, and I have absolutely loved most of the books that I have read from her. She has a way of pulling you in right from that first chapter, making you wonder what is going on, how did we get here, and then keeping you hooked the entire time. And I also love that I am always second guessing myself. I feel like there have been murder mysteries or thrillers where I can kind of piece together what's going to happen, what the ultimate ending will be, who the killer will be. But with Loreth Ann White, I may think it's person A, but it could be person B. And what does this person see? Like, there are so many red herrings in her books and just little things to make you wonder what exactly is happening. I just love that it keeps me guessing until the very end, and usually the end, I'm always just surprised. I'm always shocked at the actual full revelation of all of the facts. So similar to 2022, mysteries and thrillers were again a very big genre for me in 2023. I think it's easy to enjoy mysteries and thrillers because they keep you guessing. You know, they kind of have a way of pulling you in. But another big genre of 2023 is dark romance. Not to say I am a dark romance connoisseur. I am still just dipping my toes in the genre, figuring out exactly what kind of dark romance vibes I want. But I had a very good dark romance reading year. And there were 3 books, 3 titles that I wanted to share with you that I haven't seen a whole ton of people talking about as opposed to like Haunting Adeline. So my first dark romance recommendation is There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. And now this is a story about 2 serial killers competing for the attention of this one girl. That sentence alone, when I saw that about this book, automatically made me want to check it out and read it. And let me tell you, it was an experience. I will say, if you are not a fan of love triangles, because I feel like at the beginning when I saw that sentence of someone describing this book, I thought, I'm not the biggest fan of love triangles, but you know, we've got serial killers involved, so like I'll look past it and maybe, you know, it won't be that big of a deal. It is not exactly a love triangle. So if you are also someone who avoids love triangles, this is not that. Yes, there are 2 serial killers kind of competing for the attention of this one girl, but they are not necessarily with romantic intentions. I loved it. It is a duology, so you have 2 books, and both of them were fantastic. The first book is probably the best, but the second is not that far behind. The second recommendation I have is a big recommendation for my Dark Academia girlies, and that is Cadia by Carrie Lake. And this is a mash between Dark Academia and dark romance, and it just made a wonderful reading experience. We do focus a lot on this obscure parasite, fictional parasite, don't you worry. This fictional parasite that has infected some people in a very dark, gruesome way. We have worms traveling out of people's orifices, making them want to drown themselves. But it is not them, it is these dark, creepy worms, black gunk falling out of you. Our main character actually has a very close connection to this parasite. Because of that connection, she does get a full ride scholarship to this prestigious university, which is the only university or location that is currently doing research on Cadia. So the mystery here is that this parasite should only be survivable or should only exist on this island where the university is at. However, the experience that the main character had with the parasite happened many, many miles away on the US mainland, not on this island. So the mystery is, how did this parasite travel from the university to mainland USA? And that really is what I guess piqued my interest in this book. And just an FYI, in case this is the kind of thing that you are not comfortable with, the romance in this book is between a professor and a student. The student is over 18. This is at a university, but obviously there is that taboo of romance between the professor and the student. I personally enjoyed it, both the mystery aspect, the academia portion of it, as well as the romance. The smut in this book is not as common as you would expect with other dark romances, but what is there is done very well, and you will enjoy this, so I highly recommend it. My third and final recommendation is Alluring Darkness, and I feel like this is a particularly obscure dark romance. It doesn't have that many reviews on Goodreads, and that is Alluring Darkness by Raven Wood, and this is actually the first book in possibly a series. In Alluring Darkness, we have a school, an academy for assassins, and our main character has not been accepted into assassin school because she is impulsive, she is hot-headed, but somehow she forces her way into the school in order to defend her family's honor, or restore her family's honor, I guess. In the process, she pisses off the head honchos of the school, to say the clique of brothers, 4 brothers who essentially run the school. They are the best of the best assassins. They come from a prestigious line of assassins, and I do not mention names because I can't remember, guys, okay? I just want to give you enough to tease you and make you want to read the book. This is a bully romance, but it is not a hardcore bully romance as compared to possibly Zodiac Academy. I feel like everyone and their granny has read Zodiac Academy, and that is a true bully romance at the beginning, but I feel like the bullying in that series was so intense, was so harsh, and I'm not complaining because I get it. That is the trope of the series, of the book. The bullying bullying in Alluring Darkness is different because the main character welcomes it. The love interest in Alluring Darkness tries to humiliate, tries to embarrass the main character at every turn in front of all of their classmates. He tries to belittle her, but the main character welcomes it. It actually turns her on, and I think that is the difference between something harsh and intense in Zodiac Academy. Those girls were not having a good time. They were suffering. It personally made me a little bit uncomfortable. I really had to push through those portions, but in Alluring Darkness, the main character loved it. Like, she lived for it, and it branded her a type of crazy that just happened to be the perfect type of crazy for the love interest. So instead of making you cringe or uncomfortable, the bullying was essentially foreplay for them. The plot is a little incredulous, like the plot is not as strong, but the romance is 10 out of 10. And although I did not have one standout book or one that stood out amongst the 65 that I read, I do have 3 honorable mentions, and the first one is Every Last Fear by Alex Finlay. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe this is the author's debut novel. And what I really enjoyed about this book is that it was twisty all the way through. I love mystery books that can keep me guessing where I'm not obviously figuring out the mystery. This one, I do remember being very shocked at the end, like when all of the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. I was shook. The second one I want to mention is another mystery. Like I said, I read a lot of mysteries. They're just the easiest to get into without needing to think about it too much. The second one I want to mention is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, and this is a murder mystery with a time travel twist. So the main character is a mother who has just witnessed her son stab a man to death. She, obviously the night of the murder, is distraught. She doesn't understand, was I a bad mother? Did I influence this? Is there anything I could have done to change it? So it is obviously a very traumatic, a very heavy night. The next morning she wakes up and it is the day before. And every time she goes to bed, she keeps waking up further and further back from the day of the murder, and it turns out that she is trying to figure out what was the trigger, what caused her son to become a murderer. It was just such an experience. Yes, it was a little repetitive, but I do think it was an interesting take on just a regular murder mystery. The last honorable mention I have is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer, and I read this as an audiobook. I would recommend it as just a very lighthearted read. As the title implies, our main character is the assistant to the villain of this village. And this is such a quirky story. I think it started on TikTok, like the author would come up with these one-shots and post on TikTok like what it's like being the assistant to the villain, and then all of that transformed into an actual plot and a book. I never saw any of that. I don't have a TikTok, so I just have the book to go off of. Do I think it is a great piece of literature, the greatest thing I've ever read? No, but this was so funny. It was lighthearted. I know a lot of the reviews say it wasn't funny. I laughed out loud at a couple of moments just at the ridiculousness of it all. Like I said, I heard it as an audiobook. I would have it playing when I was doing errands, when I was cleaning the house. It was just a fun piece of entertainment to have in the background, and you can't take it seriously. This book ended on a cliffhanger. Am I interested in reading the second one? I'm not dying to read it. I might check it out just to see if the humor is the same, if the ridiculousness is the same, but it is fun. If you take it for what it is, a fantastical, silly story in Far, Far Away with the villain and his assistant, I think you'll have a good time. It's not a bad book, but you can't go into it expecting seriousness and taking it so serious. And that's really all of the stats I have for you for my reading year in 2023. I read some decent books. I can't say it was a terrible reading year. I'm a little bummed that I didn't find that one gem, but it is what it is. We have good years, we have bad years. As I stated at the beginning of the video, my goal was 70 books. I only read 65. Therefore, I decided that for 2024, my reading goal was going to be 50 books. I hope you will all stick around despite my absence. I'm going to try my hardest to be really consistent. I have 2 vlogs that I have to edit, so hopefully those will be up shortly. I hope your 2024 year has been off to a great start. Let me know what are some of your reading goals for the new year, or just life goals in general. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. My name is Elle, and I will see you in next time's video.